Hello, Americans. This is Paul Harvey. Stand by for news. We do not have all that much counter space in our kitchen, but we had to make room for this. Have you seen the new Denny Fresh Lock? True Value has them. This is a vacuum sealer for leftover food or for freezing food, and that is just the beginning. The Denny, D-E-N-I, Fresh Lock, creates a plastic bag just the right size for anything, and then, now wait a minute, it creates the plastic bag and then sucks the air out, and then vacuum seals the bag. So you can use it to protect silver that you're not using, and the silver will never tarnish. You can use the Denny Fresh Lock for toiletries when you travel, so even liquids can't spill, for sheltering photographs. However, if you just use it for buying food in larger quantities and sealing and storing that food in the freezer, it'll save the average family dollars per day. True Value promises that you can freeze beef in a Denny bag and it'll stay fresh for a year. For all of the purposes for which you've been using plastic bags, now you can make your own bags, and these bags seal the contents in a vacuum. The Denny Fresh Lock at True Value is True Value. Unfinished business. Yesterday we talked about the pledge, the Lead or Leave campaign pledge. It says, if you elect me to Congress, I'll cut the federal budget deficit in half by 1996, or I will not seek re-election. Lead or Leave. This morning, the first Democrat signed the pledge. Maryland's Tom McMillan. Next. Unemployment, now 7.7%. That's an improvement over a month ago. There's less unemployment and 198,000 additional workers working. New Jersey and New York State have the most unemployment in years, 9% plus. In New York City, unemployment has rocketed upward to more than 12%. That's the most in 16 years. But nationally, the number of American workers working, 117 million, has remained virtually unchanged for the past year. We can have more workers working and still have more unemployed because there are more of us all the time. Of course, it's easier for the politicians to talk about unemployment as a problem than to dare to mention a too many people problem. Some American workers have feared that more American companies doing business in Mexico through a free trade agreement, doing business in Mexico where labor is cheaper, would cost stateside jobs. But Parade magazine this weekend will quote Mexico's President Carlos Salinas saying that the agreement will benefit the United States. He says, as is, Mexicans are crossing the border to take jobs in the United States at the expense of American workers. But Salinas says, I want to export goods, not people. Congress is expected to ratify the treaty next year. Both Bush and Clinton support it. Most Californians becoming disenchanted with California. A Field Institute survey shows fewer than a third of Californians no longer consider it the best place to live. Recession, congestion, and crime. San Francisco Californians are a little bit less unhappy. Thousands of post office jobs are going to be phased out. Supervisory employees, not mail handlers. Postmaster General Marvin Runyon believes that he can reduce managerial positions by 25% without curtailing postal service, and thus save $2 billion a year. But at the same time, Congress will take us, U.S., deeper into debt. Congress is voting $1.2 billion in direct aid to Russia, plus a $12 billion contribution to the IMF. On the campaign trail, President Bush got careless yesterday, referred to Clinton as governor of a certain state located somewhere between Texas and Oklahoma. I guess he thought he was being funny, but it was bad geography and it was worse politics. Barry Goldwater says President Bush is going to lose the election if he, Bush, continues to oppose abortion. A United Nations team of inspectors is now in Baghdad demanding permission to inspect some more buildings. One gets the impression that we are determined to humiliate Saddam Hussein until he gives us an excuse to hit him again. Now, page 2, the modern automobile is so loaded with electronics. Now, listen to this. There's enough technology behind the instrument panel of a modern luxury car to fly a 747 jumbo jet. Now, that's a lot of load on any car battery. But motorists have learned this and have made one replacement car battery number one in the world, the Interstate Megatron Plus. higher cranking capacity, deep reserve capacity, 850 cold cranking amps, more than enough, and the Megatron Plus has a unique pump on the inside which circulates the acid, extending the battery life. So the next car battery that you buy will likely outlast your car. In fact, the Interstate Megatron Plus is warranted for 5 years. There are now 200,000 Interstate battery dealers in the United States, and you can locate your nearest one by dialing 1-800-CRANK-IT. That's all there is to it, a free 800 number. Crank it. A greenhouse is holding a contest in Plymouth, Florida, with a $1,000 prize for whoever brings in the biggest mosquito. 2,000 specimens have been entered in the contest already, 2,000 mosquitoes. A ranger at Everglades National Park, Jay Robinson, believes that he has trapped the state's biggest mosquito. He says it's twice the size of any other he ever saw. It is frightening, Ranger Robinson says, but he cannot enter this one in the contest because all wildlife in Everglades Park is protected. I mean, under the law, it is illegal to kill them, to catch them, or even to shoo them away. And because feeding wildlife is also against the law in the park, it is illegal even to allow a mosquito to bite you. More of your tax dollars at work. Al Palanza's brother is dead, but weeks later, he is still getting mail, including this letter from the Greenville County, South Carolina Department of Social Services. Dear Sir, your food stamps will be stopped effective on the 22nd of this month because we received notice that you passed away. God bless you. You may reapply for food stamps if there is any change in your circumstances. End quote. On the medical front, there's further evidence today that vitamins may intercept some eye problems. Harvard Medical finds vitamin A useful in avoiding cataracts, especially in women for some reason. And good sources of A, of course, are milk and liver, green and yellow vegetables. British Medical Journal. In Poughkeepsie, New York, last month, Angelina Hopkins and Brenda Whiteside left the Club Blue Note, a local bar, with a man, and they vanished. Witnesses could describe the man, but nobody knew who he was. When police had done the best they could to find the girls, Angelina's family persisted in the search. They took turns staking out that same local bar night after night. Weeks went by. They continued their stakeout. And then last Sunday night, it was ladies' night at the Club Blue Note, they called police to announce he just walked in. Well, the police converged. They arrested Nathaniel White, 32. He has confessed to killing those young women and 4 others over the past few weeks. Ever since, he says, ever since he saw the horror movie RoboCop. Now, page 3. Linwood, Washington's talking about the almost wedding of Janet Miser and Scott Carmichael. When there was nobody there to tie the knot, the district judge running for a seat on Superior Court says he was campaigning and forgot about the wedding. Janet is understandably furious. In suburban Los Angeles, Jeff Porcaro, the phenomenal drummer for the rock band Toto, has died suddenly at 38 while spraying his garden, apparently an allergic reaction to some pesticide. Rap music's performer known as Ice-T, who recorded Cop Killer, he has now recorded another one called Mama's Gonna Die Tonight, in which he sings of pouring lighter fluid on his sleeping mother and setting her on fire. Spotlight on basketball. There will not likely ever be another dream team such as ours. They've won every game by an average margin of 46 points, and they say they've not yet played their best. The last competitor is Croatia. Opponents are lining up to have their pictures taken with our players whom they idolize. Now there's been a simultaneous corporate Olympics, the sneaker war between Nike and Reebok, and together they spent $50 million competing. Nike Town on Chicago's Michigan Avenue reflects merchandising of the next century. Can you imagine a shoe store being a tourist attraction? Fisherman Frank Matsuhara, a Californian fishing off Kailua Kona, Hawaii, during a billfish tournament, had a likely winner on the line, a 140-pound marlin. But as he was reeling in the marlin was attacked by a mako shark. I mean, the big shark came up from behind and began to swallow the marlin, tail first, and then crunched down and ate about half of the marlin and hung on. Now, the shark is much too big safely to try to pull into the small boat. This is a shark 15 feet long. It is 2 feet just between its eyes, likely weighed more than 1,000 pounds. Mr. Matsuhara fought the monster for an hour and a half to get it close enough to lift it with a gaff, but he had to hit it 3 times before, as fishermen and crew watched with much relief, the big one got away. You've noticed the biggest man in the neighborhood always walks the smallest dog. Frank Thomas of Chicago's White Sox is big. I mean, he is so huge, he is nicknamed Big Frank. Sneed of the Tribune caught him walking his Streeterville neighborhood with a little tiny white toy poodle. And now, page 4. Isn't this something? The Cooper Tire Company. And Cooper has been making tires since before you and I were born. Today, Cooper is the fastest growing tire company in the world. Even today. Now I'm going to reveal the Cooper secret in 2 words. Cooper employees. Last year, this company converted more than 320 million pounds of natural and synthetic rubber into tires and tubes and other rubber products. But all of that raw material is available to anybody. You can credit nobody for this company's unprecedented success except Cooper employees. These employees are so dedicated to excellence, so committed to quality, that when each Cooper tire is completed, the employee responsible for the finished product signs both the Cooper name and his own name to that tire. The fastest growing tire company in the world has just invested more than $100 million, further expanding operations, and all of that dramatic growth is traceable to Cooper employees. And by the way, they just made a fine set of new tires for you. If you saw the movie Home Alone, hear this. Corey Robertson, Misty Meadows Drive, Corpus Christi, Texas, was home alone watching television when 2 big burglars came to the door. He peeked out through the blinds and saw the men. Remembering his parents' admonition, he did not open the door. When he heard them forcing the door, he ran and hid in a closet. When they got in, Corey came out of the closet with his baseball bat and confronted them. Corey is 9 and small, but his bat made him bigger. They left. Bonanza in the Bahamas, a Spanish galleon which went down 400 years ago, has been reboarded, and they're finding hundreds of bars of gold and silver and a harvest of coins minted in 1543. For what it's worth, on a crowded train in England, a crowded train, en route Victoria Station, a man and woman engaged in sex. Right in the passenger coach, this couple engaged in sex. Nobody objected. But then afterward, when the 2 lit up cigarettes, then non-smoking passengers complained and had Zoe Darcy and John Henderson arrested. Paul Harvey, could they?